Good morning. I welcome all the speakers to join us on stage. Please excuse us for some technical problems. Good morning, delegates, chairs, advisors, note passers, admin, press, and community members. I have great pleasures in welcoming all of you to this year's conference, Chemun 9. Chennai Model United Nations has always involved around 500 people who are eager to show their passion and insight for contemporary international relations. This event thrives on encouraging all students to come together to research, caucus, debate, support, and pass resolutions in order to solve issues of global importance. As the Deputy Secretary General, I hope that the 3 following days will be an exciting opportunity for young minds to expose themselves to the most pressing issues of today's world through a very specific lens, biotechnology. Many of you may be wondering why we chose to focus on such a specific and unique theme. Personally, I was never particularly interested in the sciences, and therefore I empathize with those of you who might have been perplexed by the term biotechnology. However, it is actually much more than just a discipline that involves biological processes, organisms, cells, and technology. It does not limit itself to laboratories and engineering. Think of it as something that people 100 years ago would have considered science fiction. Biotechnology is a very new and present theme in our everyday lives. It is even more interesting because of its outlook on the future. Biotechnology is about progress. Biotechnology is about preserving our environment and improving life conditions for future generations, and maybe even for ourselves, seeing the pace at which science develops. Nowadays, the issue around sustainability have become relatively prominent, and we can already say that they will only become bigger problems as time goes by. Are there going to be enough resources for all of us? Will medicine advance to the point that it can cure the 8 million people that die from cancer every year? Biotechnology looks to be the answer to such questions. During this Chemun conference, I invite all of you to ask yourselves, what does our future look like? And by future, I don't mean 90 years from now. I mean tomorrow, I mean next week, I mean next month. Technology and science is changing fast, and I want you to consider how we can use these in efficient ways. Because yes, there can be destructive ones. The Chemun 9 Secretariat hopes that our delegates and chairs will enjoy deliberating about such a unique theme, which evolves as we speak. Again, welcome to all. Thank you. I would now like to invite Ms. Gayatri Sriram, the chairperson of ASC School Board, to speak about the significance of the inaugural lighting of the lamp.
Good morning. In South India, inaugurations commence with the lighting of the lamp or kuttu vilakku, which is often maintained right through the occasion. Light symbolizes knowledge and darkness, ignorance. Light signifies the source, the enlivener, and the illuminator of all knowledge. Knowledge removes ignorance, just as light removes darkness. Also, knowledge is a lasting inner wealth by which all outer achievements can be accomplished. Knowledge backs our actions, whether good or bad. We therefore keep a lamp lit during all auspicious occasions as a witness to our thoughts and actions. I'm often asked, why not just light a bulb? That too would remove darkness. But the traditional oil lamp has a further spiritual significance. The oil, or ghee in the lamp, symbolizes our collective egos and the need to assert ourselves to the exclusion of others. When lit by spiritual knowledge, the ego gets slowly exhausted and finally perishes, when everyone finds common ground and works for the common good, much as what you're going to do today. The flame of the lamp always burns upwards. Similarly, we should acquire such knowledge as to take us towards higher ideals. A single lamp can light hundreds more than just one person's knowledge can illuminate many lives. The brilliance of the light does not diminish despite its repeated use to light many more lamps. So too, knowledge does not lessen when shared with or imparted to others. On the contrary, it increases in clarity and conviction on giving, and it benefits both the receiver and the giver. This lamp I will be lighting on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the American International School, and with this I wish you all a wonderful and illuminating conference. Thank you.
I would now like to invite the high school symphonic band. Let us give another round of applause to the high school symphonic band. I have now the honor to invite Ms. Joelle Basnight, the high school principal, to make her speech.
What an honor it is to be asked to offer an additional welcome to you today. I'm so very proud to be part of this institution, an institution that seeks to support and challenge young people like yourselves to not only ask the all-important question of why, but the equally important question of what next. Chemun is an extension of just this type of learning, and I'm hopeful that you will find your time here both rewarding and enriching. The theme of this conference is to look at global issues through the lens of biotechnology, but I have to be honest with you. Beyond sharing my strategy for killing off the world population as quickly as possible in the game called Plague, I'm fresh out of deep thoughts about biotechnology, much less specific ideas related to transgenic crops and nanotechnology and warfare. But lucky for you, I do have a few things to say about the impact of technology now that it's become such an essential part of our lives. Whether that be by aiding the exponential development of the biotechnology industry, or the simple yet profound effect that a device as small as this one may have on our own individual development. Not long ago, I watched a TED Talk by Amber Case, a cyborg anthropologist. A what, you might ask? You heard correctly, a cyborg anthropologist. Ms. Case argues that we are actually all cyborgs, people who are one with our machines. And in fact, that these tools have become an extension of our mental selves. Now don't worry, I'm not here to give you some sort of speech about no longer indulging in the instant gratification of Google or swearing off Facebook. That's not realistic for any of us. I just find it really interesting to note that the technology that we have today has given us the wealth of knowledge at a touch of a button, and that it has allowed us in turn to test, refine, improve, and even solve some of the issues we face today faster than ever before. Sadly, however, there's often a price to pay for this type of rapid advancement. Whether that be the unknown future cost to human health by using biomodified vaccinations, or more simply the unknown future cost to our own individual well-being by our increased dependency on these small devices, there must be unintended consequences. And here's one. This device allows us to connect with anyone at any time. In fact, I would guess that some of you out there are connecting with each other or with friends back home at this very moment. Amber Case calls this ambient intimacy. And a great example of ambient intimacy can be found in an airport departure lounge. In such instances, 50 people may be sitting close together, but no one in the room is talking to each other. Instead, they're connecting virtually with people not even in the room. On the one hand, this virtual connection is as real as it is convenient. But on the other, our choice to digitally connect can distract us from connecting to the person we're actually sitting next to. Potential deep, albeit random connections with total strangers and mere acquaintances are not pursued because we're too busy connecting digitally. Here's another potential consequence. These devices are outstanding at keeping us occupied. Waiting in line? Check Facebook. Movie starting in another 10 minutes? No problem, surf the web. Waiting for the speech to end? Check your email. You get the picture, right? That sounds great. Sure, this combats our boredom and it helps us to pass the time, but at what cost? Well, Amber Case would argue that by filling these occasional voids in our mental activities, we limit our chances to make cognitive leaps and connections that only come when we pause long enough to synthesize and reflect. So right about now, you may be wondering what on earth any of this has to do with Chemun. Well, that's a good question. Here's my answer to you. You have the opportunity this weekend to safeguard against some of the downsides of technology that Amber Case warns us about. You have the chance to use technology to enhance your learning while not allowing it to stunt your development. You have the chance to explore countless global issues, and what's more, you have the chance to explore the impact that these have on making your own world view. Capitalize on the conversations you will have this weekend, both in the formal sessions and informally during breaks, by being physically present and engaged rather than virtually distracted. Take advantage of those quiet moments to allow your thoughts to percolate and for the new ideas that you've learned to integrate with those you already had. Take the occasional break from being a cyborg so that you remain a master of technology rather than a slave to it. This will keep you authentic and grounded. It will help you find the strength and fortitude to fight for who you are and what you believe in. It will make you better equipped to figure out the why and what next for you as a human being. Because that's really why you came to Chemun in the first place, right? To follow your passions. Nobel laureate R. Tagore says it far better than I can. When a man begins to have a vision larger than his own truth, when he realizes that it is much larger than at first it seemed, he begins to become conscious of his moral nature. His perspective on life necessarily changes, and his will takes the place of his desires. So comes about the conflict between our inferior self and our superior self, between our desires and our will, between our greed for objects that appeal to our senses and the purpose that comes from the bottom of our heart. It is my sincere wish that your Chemun experience helps you find your purpose, your authentic self, your why and what next, and that this is achieved through passionate dialogue, deep discussion, quiet reflection, and much laughter. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Basnet, for your speech. Let me now introduce you to our keynote speaker, Mr. Natayan Nand, and a member of the NGO Vetiver Collective, to talk a bit about his work and share his experience.
We have two keynote speakers. One is a keynote singer, and I'm a keynote speaker. So I would like to invite the keynote singer, Sophie Ashraf.
Hi, my name is Sophie Ashraf. I'm so happy to be here because I thought I'll be around people my own height. But then I saw the heels these girls are wearing and I realized I'm alone. Like I said, my name is Sophie Ashraf. Some of you might know me as that angry hippie that showed up on your wall talking about Kodaikanal won't. I was touted as the girl who single-handedly stood up against a corporation. I think this is a huge injustice. I mean, the angry hippie bit is right, I am an angry hippie, but I did not single-handedly stand up against a corporation. A little backstory about what we did. There was a thermometer factory in Kodaikanal that caused mercury pollution, and I was approached by an NGO to do a song about it. And this video was shot in a day, but I could say it took 14 years in the making because it's a 14-year-long struggle. Like Nityanand said, I'm not the speaker here, I'm the rapper here, because what's a model UN without some rapper swag? So I'm just going to get into the song. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kodaikkaanal Won't. Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't step down till you make amends now. This is the story of Kodai's frustration, known to us as the princess of temptations. Unilever came and left devastation as they exposed the land to contamination. So here's the story. They set up a thermometer factory where workers handle toxic mercury. They dump their waste in the local shrubbery. Now that's some toxic stuff. By the way, what they say, that the factory was safe as day. They don't trust a word of what the workers say. What about the polluting, the mercury poisoning, life-threatening, there's kids suffering, poison in the soil, you never spoiled, your cleanup was a sham, there's poison in the air, you ain't done. Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't step down until you make amends now. Unilever, clean up your mess. Unilever, clean up your mess. Unilever, clean up your mess. I said clean up your mess. That's right, clean up your mess. Unilever has been hiding behind their fake PSAs and their Pepsodent smiles. They wash their hands off Kodai with Lifebuoy. There's nothing fair or lovely about this trial. Now this is real. Prolonged exposure got many men killed. There's children born being seriously ill. The environment is polluted still. Now that's some toxic stuff. By the way, what they say, that the factory was safe as day. They don't trust a word of what the workers say. What about the polluting, the mercury poisoning, it's life-threatening, there's kids suffering, poison in the soil, you don't have a spoiled, your cleanup was a sham, there's poison in the air, you ain't done. Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't, Kodaikkaanal won't step down until you make amends now.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Sophie, for setting the tone for this, and thank you very much. I loved your talk. Your principal's talk was excellent because it set the tone about technology. One of the things that I would like to tell the young diplomats here is question, question, question. If somebody tells you technology is good, think about it from the point of view that technology is bad. Is technology the solution, or is it the cause of the problem? We're saying we need a cure for so many cancers, and technology will provide the cure. Was technology the cause behind the cancer epidemic that we have today? The reason why I'm saying that we need to look at it from these points of view is because science is all about ways of knowing. Ways of knowing. It's a plural. There are many different ways to know things. And technology are things that we do applying these ways of knowing to get different things done. These things that we do and the things that we want to get done might be superbly important or might be absolutely inconsequential. Technology and science gives power to the people who control it. And the question we need to ask is, who controls this? If you look at today's world, there is a concentration of power, there is a concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. When we talk about biotechnology, we talk about it as if it's a neutral thing, as if the United Nations would actually be able to just think about it, talk about it, and do what is best for humanity. Not possible. Who controls the United Nations? Rich nations. Who control the rich nations? Corporations. corporations like Unilever, corporations like Union Carbide, corporations like Dow Chemical. So our democratic spaces, be it the Parliament of India, the United States Congress, or the United Nations, are captured to a large extent. There's a tension between people's interests and corporate interests. And that's what my story is about. You might have heard a lot about this campaign called Swachh Bharat campaign, or the Clean India campaign. I can't see the audience, but I would love to be able to see them. Thank you very much. Yeah. How many of you clean your rooms on a daily basis? I don't, but how many of you clean your rooms on a daily basis? How do you clean? When you clean your room, what do you do with the dirt? Throw it outside the room. Okay. So then how do you clean the outside of your room? You throw it outside the house? How do you clean the outside of your house? Throw it to the end of the street. And how do you clean the end of the street? Throw it outside your city. How do you clean up your country? Throw it in a different country. No, that's true. Swachh Bharat is all about moving garbage from one place to another. This is at a time when we can send rockets to moon, but we're not potty trained as a society. And we're talking about technology, and this technology tries to burn it, bury it, throw it out, send it to Bangladesh, all different ways of trying to quote-unquote solve a problem. So, next please. This is a story about Kodaikanal. There's also a story about how America cleaned up its act. 1960s, a woman called Rachel Carson, and she was called a crazy woman because any woman who speaks up is called crazy. And she wrote a book called Silent Spring about the impact of pesticides on natural world, and talked about how these chemical synthetic pesticides were able to threaten life itself. These chemicals did not disappear. They remained persistent in the environment, and they built up in the food chain and would attack the very basis of life, which is reproduction. Next, please. So this is, for those of you who are familiar with North America, this is the Great Lakes area. You have, which is North America, Canada, and America, and USA. And Lake Ontario that you see on the side, on the banks of Lake Ontario and all over these lakes, there was immense pollution in the 60s and 70s. And this was a result of the technological leap that we took after World War II, where we learned to do a lot of different wondrous things with stuff that we took out from the earth. Petroleum, we made synthetic pesticides. What were earlier used to kill people were now being used to kill pests. And we also had a massive industrial revolution around this area, which resulted in the Great Lakes being immensely polluted. Among other pollutants, there was also a pollutant called mercury, which is a very life-threatening metal. It is found in metallic form, but quickly transforms into even more deadlier forms. And one of the factories that used this mercury to manufacture thermometers was located on the banks of Lake Ontario. And the United States wanted to clean up its act. And in the 70s, they started bringing in very stringent environmental controls, after knowing that mercury is very, very poisonous, to try and reduce the emissions of mercury by eliminating the sources of these emissions. So the thermometer factory on the edge of Lake Ontario was shut down as a part of the cleaning up of the Great Lakes. And that cleaning up was done the same way that we clean up our room. So from here, it moved. You can go to the next one. From here it moved all the way to a very beautiful hill station in Tamil Nadu called Kodaikanal. Next please. So mercury is a chemical that bioaccumulates. It's a little bit of chemistry. There are some chemicals that when are available in the soil do not necessarily get into your body because they don't enter the food chain. There are other chemicals that enter the food chain. So there are two processes called bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Bioaccumulation is where in the same species, so you have a little fish, three little fish, the three little fish grow up, so whatever they've eaten to grow up, the poison inside their bodies remain in the body, is not excreted. So it's like a recurring deposit account. Every month you put in something, doesn't come out. So by the time you're older, you have a very large toxic load. The second process is called biomagnification, little fish being eaten by a larger fish. So many little fish being eaten by a larger fish, the larger fish gets 10 times the amount that was there in the little fish, and so it moves up the food chain and comes to extremely dangerous levels where it reaches the top of the food chain, which includes top predators, human beings. Next please. This was from Japan, Minamata. It's called Minamata disaster. In the 1950s, there was a company called Chemun Corporation which discharged mercury waste into Minamata Bay, and this is what happened to the children. The poisoning and the effects of the poisoning continue till date. Next, please. This is Kodaikanal. This is a small little graphic. And the factory is located where it says thermometer factory. The downstream area is located on top of what is called a watershed. We're thinking about manufacturing thermometers over there, but just imagine that this entire area is a factory for water. It manufactures the most important thing for human life, water. And we located a mercury thermometer factory on top of our overhead water tank for southern Tamil Nadu. And next please. So in March 2001, people found that the company Unilever had dumped broken thermometer waste in a scrapyard, and so people took out a march from the scrapyard to the factory and shut them down. Next. Next. This is all the rally. Next. This is roughly the amount of toxins that have been dumped into the forest. 1.3 tons, so 1,300 kilograms. 1 gram of mercury discharged into a 25-acre lake on an annual basis is enough to contaminate the entire lake. And what we have over here is a company that had shut down in America to save America, brought to India, discharging 1.3 tons of mercury into the watershed. In other words, this is also called environmental racism, where you discriminate on the basis of nationalities, caste, class, gender, etc. Next. So these were the workers who worked in the factory were never told that mercury was a dangerous chemical. So about 1,100 workers in total have gone through the factory premises, and many of them have suffered health effects. Next. This is something that one of the workers told me, that they did not know mercury was toxic. And you have mercury in your laboratory, and many of us have played with mercury. Don't do that. Mercury looks very cute, is really nice to touch, but it's deadly dangerous. So these people used to pick up the mercury and splash it on each other because there's so much noise in the work floor, in the shop floor, that they would have to, in order to attract the attention of their friends, they would just splash mercury on them. Next. Mercury has a number of effects. Primarily it's a neurotoxin, which means it destroys or damages the brain, but it also can affect the oral cavity, the dental problems. So this is one of the workers, Jiaz Mohammed. I have met about 14 workers like this and photographed them, just like a Humans of New York portraits. We also have Humans of Kodaikanal portraits with only portraits of oral cavities. And Jiaz is one of the persons who used to work in the factory. Next. The pictures of a young boy called Nitesh. Mercury affects the brain, including when the child is developing as a fetus in the womb of the mother. The placenta, which is what connects the mother to the fetus, is a natural kind of a barrier for many of the toxins. But mercury is one of those toxins that can even cross the placental barrier and affect the fetus. So this boy was affected in his mother's womb for no fault of his. His mother worked in the factory, and his younger brother now takes him to school and brings him back. He can't study, he just goes there to spend the day while the mother sells fruits in Cocos Walk, which is a tourism area in Kodaikanal. Next. This is Esther and David. Esther and David had when the son was 18 years old, he dropped out of school, didn't want to go to school, and decided to just idle around. His parents told him, go find a job. So he found a job in the Unilever's thermometer factory. He worked for about 2 years, started getting headaches, nosebleeds, vomited blood, had a kidney failure, and he died when he was 23. And his mother says, my son would be alive if we hadn't pushed him to work in the company. And she's still guilt-ridden, and they've lost all their money. They've sold their land, they've sold their cows, they've sold their house, they've sold their jewelry, and they're in debt. They did not have money to bury the son. Next. These are all some of the pictures of the one on that side is Brito, the son of the two parents that you just saw. And these are other workers. Close to 11 workers have died between the ages of 20 and 30, all of kidney failure. The company knew that mercury would cause this kind of damages, but never alerted the workers about it. Next. The factory site is very badly polluted, and the company says it will clean up, but it won't clean it up to the same standards as would be required in the United Kingdom, where the company is headquartered. So again, over here we have a double standards. This is one standard for the North or for Western countries and another standard for the South, and our government seems to be buying into that. And that's where I come back to the whole issue that United Nations, Government of India, these are not neutral bodies. There's always a tension between what the people want and what corporate interests want. And why is it? Next, please. And if you look at what the corporate interest actually has, Mr. Paul Polman, who's the CEO of Unilever, if you check out his tweets, just go to Twitter and do @PaulPolman, and you will find that you'll actually get confused whether is this Paul Polman or is this Pope Francis or is it Mother Teresa, because he sounds like the Mother Teresa of the corporate world. He's talking about sustainable future, about gender empowerment, about child welfare, about sanitation and hygiene. It's a company that has promised $110 million to Government of India for Swachh Bharat, which is basically another phrase for moving garbage from one place to another. He takes home an annual salary of $11 million. He runs a company that has an annual turnover of $55 billion, an advertising budget of $6 billion. And they use the $6 billion to tell the world that they are responsible, caring to their workers, and environmentally sustainable. The estimated cost of settling the entire Kodaikanal issue is $4 million. Peanuts compared to what Unilever's advertising budget is. The question we need to ask is, why is such a rich company not doing something that is so simple, so easy to do? I'll leave you with that question. I do not want to give you my answers to that, but please do engage with the question. When you're talking about corporations, is it possible for a corporation to be responsible? Engage with the question. Find me or find yourselves examples, if you can, of responsible corporations. Find out what made them responsible. Find out how United Nations, Government of India, Government of the United States, all of us, how did we become so beholden to the profit motive, to the corporate interest? And then you come back to the issue of technology. Find out who's controlling this technology, who's speaking. Are there any people who are speaking from the grassroots? We talk about helping the poor. Are the poor people sitting inside the United Nations, or is it only a bunch of rich folks sitting and deciding what is best for the poor? Thank you.
As you all saw, this was a very, very serious issue. Niti has been fighting this fight for 14 years now. They've done everything. They did protests, they released reports, they've been talking to people like you, and there was no response from the company. And then Niti and the Vetiver Collective suddenly realized, he showed you the stats, right? Like billions spent in advertising. And they realized that the world believed that HUL was a clean and green company because of their corporate social responsibility, activities, their campaigns and all of that. So Niti said, you know what? Let's hit them where it hurts. Let's take to social media. We were talking about the two sides of technology. This is not technically biotechnology, but Niti decided, let's go on and use technology. Let's go on social media and do something about this. Let's expose them to the world. So that's when I came in. He came up to me. I used to work in advertising. Yes, I was a complete sellout. He came to me and he said, you know what, sell out for good. Can we do a song about this? And that's how this entire campaign came about. I'll just give you a little history of how the campaign came about. He came to me with the idea. Now you saw, it was a very serious issue. Now how do I take all these stats, all these figures, and put it out to people? I mean, how do I rhyme 5.8 million tons? You know, it doesn't sound good in a rap. So we decided, let's package it well. At the end of the day, when you're giving a message to people, packaging matters. So we decided, since I worked in advertising, what I did was, I realized that you can piggyback off pop culture. So we picked a famous song. Did any of you recognize the song that we spoofed? I'll know the age gap now. What was the song? Yeah, well, the older generation would have said Sir Mix-a-Lot. So yeah, so you guys already recognize the song. So you already know the tune, so I hope that you are paying attention to the lyrics. So that's what we did. We took to social media and it blew up. I mean, the response was overwhelming. And finally, Mr. Paul Polman broke his silence and tweeted about the issue. We are still working towards getting a satisfactory result out of this, but I think what worked was, it was people like you and I talking about the issue, and it was people like you and I who shared. And I just want to say, for all of you who shared and liked, you guys made a difference. Yeah, big hand to you guys. So, what else are we doing on this issue? We've started a boycott campaign. We, like Niti said, we're trying to ask the right questions and trying to get people to ask the right questions about technology and industries. So very recently, we had a Justice Rocks concert. Justice Rocks is a protest rock show that we do, where we try to tell the audience in an entertaining way, edutainment we call it, about social issues. We pick a topic and we talk about it. So this time's Justice Rocks focused exactly on the topic that you guys are discussing. We're very happy you're discussing this. It was about technology, it was about industrialization, about the pros and the cons, it was about asking the right questions. We had a very enlightening Justice Rocks this time. I learned so much, and I hope you too go away from this asking the right questions. Since I'm more of a rapper than a speaker, I think that's enough. I'm going to leave you with one of the songs I performed at Justice Rocks. Now this is completely tangential. This song is about how I left a corporate job because these guys got me to ask the right questions. I left a corporate job and I went and I tried to follow my heart and tried following music and doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Pixels, music by Sapta. Bucket full of projects, bucket full of punnu kenna bucket koda maricha. I got job leads and call sheets and time sheets and spreadsheets. No time to eat, I'm dying to meet the folks back home. I'm trying to be rational, professional, and live inside my cubicle. So how now can I think outside the box? Which fixes in the future where features of a wetter way, glitches in the system where pieces of a puzzle. This business is a piece of a bigger proposition. Kick us out the frame for a better composition. Tall claims be all make, saying at the end is a ball game. No place to play, trees raised away. To create bills we're forced to pay. Face to face, no space today. So we walk on thin ice every day. Can't face the days we waste away. So what's the whole point anyway? Paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. Beat to beat, paycheck to paycheck. Beat to beat, paycheck to paycheck. Beat to beat, paycheck to paycheck. You move out, you do right, you follow your heart. You tune out your foresight, you take up your art. Then you choose up, you tune up, you're used up, so you suit up. The alcohol stocked up, everybody talk shop. I call client stall, not sure what's up. Corporate lock stock, I'm facing the barrel. I'm clocked out but caught up, negotiating talent. Pincher to pincher, ill sounds wasted. Paycheck to paycheck, living like a waster. Drill sound dated, banks not paid it. Haggling and grappling like talents wasted. Unprofessional, the way you're discounting my skill. You don't work for free, stop asking me. Even dreamers have their bills. Beat to beat, paycheck to paycheck. 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 Paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to both our keynote speakers and Sophie Ashraf. Now I would like to invite Priya Prabhakar, our Secretary General of Chemun 9.
Hello and welcome to the 9th Annual Chennai Modern United Nations. For the next 3 days, you will idealize a better world. A world that strives to rid of the ill effects of capitalism that squanders our earth. A world where innovation is abound, but human life is not compromised. A world that acknowledges past oppression and seeks to remedy current discrimination. That is important. Your work is important, and I'm truly honored that we can give you the platform to do that. You are a philosopher for the next 3 days, but it cannot be done unless you do one simple task for me today. I want you to acknowledge your privilege. It's a very difficult thing to do, especially because its basis is rooted in what we take for granted, and it's a complex concept. But the way I like to think about it is in terms of the human experience. As humans on this earth, and at a time like this, when the experience of one human might be radically different from the experience of another, solely based on gender, race, sexual orientation, religion, and most importantly, socioeconomic class, it becomes pertinent to reflect upon our own situation in society and recognize the advantages that we've never had to fight for. By the powers vested in you as a delegate, you are given the privilege of a voice. Recognize and use your privilege to amplify marginalized voices and fight against everyday oppression to achieve dignity and justice for all. I must thank you all for being philosophers and that allow us to have this Chennai Modern United Nations. And with that, I declare the 9th annual session of the Chennai Modern United Nations open. I will now introduce our student officers for Chemun 9. Chairing the Committee of Security Council, we have Jade Hopkins and Aditya Babu. Please stand up. Chairing the Committee of the Advisory Panel, we have Amrita Varshini Ganeshan and K.S. Kailasam. Chairing the Committee of the General Assembly, we have Uday Saharia and Srivatsan Krishnan. Chairing the Committee of the Economic and Social Committee, we have Jungmin Kim and Madhav Shankanarayanan. Chairing the Disarmament and Security Council, we have Vishnu Sriram and Ansu Lakhotia. Chairing the Human Rights Committee, we have Yannick Frampton and Anirudh Ravikumar. Chairing the Environment Committee, we have Minsang Park and Sudarshan Srikanth. And last but not least, chairing the special conference, we have Ellie Kang and Keshava Kirupa Dinakaran. I will now call upon the chairs to escort their delegates to their respective committees and rooms. But before that, we would like to acknowledge our keynote speakers and thank them for their graciousness and enlightenment today by Ms. Sophie Ashraf here. Please give another round of applause. And Mr. Nityanand Jairam. Thank you so much. And I will now call upon the chairs to escort their delegates to their respective committees. Just kidding. Ms. Joelle Basnight. Please give a round of applause. And Ms. Gayatri Sriram. Thank you so much to all the speakers today. It was really wonderful. Just one more round of applause. Can we raise the lights on the audience? Now we will ask the chairs to escort their delegates to their respective committees. First, we'll start with Security Council, which is in the shed. So, Jade and Aditya, please escort your Security Council to the shed. Okay. Then we have, Then we have the Advisory Panel, which is in the PE classroom. So, Amrita and then we have the Environment Committee, which is in the high school CIC.